Thank you, Mr. President, Excellencies. So my name is Dr. Rick Peperkorn. I'm the WHO representative for the occupied Palestinian territory. I do visit Gaza very regularly, every two and a half months. I stay between 2 and 4 weeks and have been participating on multiple of these WHO-led missions to all hospitals all over Gaza, and some of them which we will focus on today. So first of all, thank you for this opportunity to review on the health situation in Gaza. 2025 begins on a somber and deeply worrying note, as fighting continues to intensify and hope dwindles for Gazans who have been enduring this nightmare for 14 months. Approximately 7% of the population has been killed or injured since October 2023, with over 25% of the more than 105,000 injured people suffering from life-changing injuries, which will need extensive rehabilitation and lifelong medical assistive technologies, according to WHO and partners' estimates. Time and again, hospitals have become battlegrounds, rendering them out of services and depriving those in need of life-saving care. The health sector is being systematically dismantled and pushed to the breaking point. Its resilience tested amid dire shortages of medical supplies, equipment, and specialized staff. Only 16 of the 36 hospitals in Gaza remain partially functional, with a total bed capacity of just 1,822, far below what is needed to address the overwhelming health crisis. Due to damage, attacks, and shortages, most hospitals can only provide basic care and lack the capacity for specialized treatment of chronic diseases and complex injuries, leading to increased suffering and death. Despite these challenges, the pace of medical evacuations remains extremely slow. Since October 2023, only 5,383 patients have been evacuated abroad for medical treatment, with support from WHO and its partners. Of these, only 436 have been evacuated since the closure of the Rafah crossing of 6th of May 2024, with WHO organized, facilitated by WHO. Over 12,000 people still require medical evacuation, and at the current rate, it would take 5 to 10 years to evacuate all these critical ill patients, including thousands of children. Despite this challenging environment, WHO and partners are doing all they can to keep hospitals and health services operational. However, our ability to move aid is severely compromised. The entry of supplies into and across Gaza remains extremely slow due to restrictions, delays in the clearance of supplies entering the Strip, and obstacles to our missions within Gaza. In 2024 alone, only 111 out of 279, so that's only 40% of WHO missions were facilitated, directly impacting our ability to safely and promptly resupply hospitals, transfer critical patients, and deploy emergency medical teams. Since October 2023, almost every week, WHO has repeatedly issued urgent calls to protect health workers and hospitals as per international humanitarian law, yet these calls remain unheard. Attacks on hospitals persist. To date, WHO has verified 654 attacks on healthcare facilities in Gaza, resulting in 886 fatalities and 1,349 injuries. In North Gaza, which has been under siege for approximately 90 days, the health and humanitarian situation continues to deteriorate. Only Al-Ada Hospital remains minimal functional, and there are no primary healthcare facilities available in the area. The lack of healthcare poses a severe threat to the lives of thousands of Palestinians still in the area. Kamal Adwan Hospital, the main hospital in North Gaza, was put out of services following a raid last week and relentless attacks since October this year. WHO was constantly hindered in accessing the hospital during this period, with only 10 out of 21 missions partially facilitated. On 27 December, the hospital was emptied. Majority of the patients were forced to a nearby location, while critical patients were transferred to the non-functional Indonesian hospital, which lacks the necessary equipment and supplies to provide adequate care. WHO remains deeply concerned about Dr. Hussam Abu Safia, the director of Kamal Adwan Hospital, who was detained during the raid. We've lost contact with him since and call for his immediate release. Reports indicate that key areas of the hospital were burned and severely damaged during the raid, including laboratory, surgical unit, engineering and maintenance department, operation theater, and a medical store. WHO and partners' efforts over the last months to sustain the hospital's operations have been undone. We call for urgent access to the hospital to assess the damage and determine if it can be restored. We also urge for facilitation to transfer the medical equipment from Kamal Adwan to Al Alda and other hospitals in Gaza City. At Indonesian hospital, the situation continues to deteriorate. Although the hospital is out of service, 7 patients, 9 caregivers, and 6 health workers remain there. Today, the hospital reportedly received an order to evacuate and to provide a list of names and details of all those still inside. We urge that the hospital and its remaining patients who are in a dangerous and active conflict zone be protected. The hospital is already severely damaged and further attacks will make it even harder to restore the facility. Al Ada, which is the last remaining minimal functional hospital in North Gaza, is struggling to stay open. Hostilities continue around the hospitals, resulting in an influx of injury. 37 inpatients remain inside. Food and water and fuel are depleting fast. The hospital has been without many essential medicines for more than 85 days. Access to the hospital is dangerous for patients in need due to the hostilities nearby. Unfortunately, we have just received reports that Al Ada 2 has been ordered to fully evacuate. With this, the last health lifeline in North Gaza is at the risk of being severed. WHO is planning a mission to Al Ada, Kamal Adwan, and Indonesian hospital for assessment. However, currently no roads to Kamal Adwan and Al Ada are accessible. We urge for access to be facilitated urgently and for evacuation orders to be rescinded. As I close, I want to emphasize that despite the incomprehensible challenges, the health system of Gaza has not collapsed. It's deeply affected and bruised, but against all odds, health workers, WHO and partners have kept services going as much as possible. Al-Shifa, as examples, Al-Shifa and Nasser Medical Complex, which have been restored after being left in ruins, including European Gaza Hospital, following severe attacks, raids and destruction earlier this year, are prime examples of the resilience of a Gaza health system and the inspiring dedication of its health workers, with support of WHO and partners. This is nothing short of a feat and is a reason to be hopeful. It shows what can be achieved if healthcare is protected and peace is given a chance. I want to remind that hospitals have a special protection under international humanitarian law because of their life-saving functions. While hospital may, under specific and limited circumstances, lose their protected status, such use does not then absolve any party from its obligations to comply with all other relevant rules of international humanitarian law that are applicable when launching attacks on military objectives, including the principles of distinction, precautions in attack, and proportionality. This remains fully applicable. Lastly, I repeat WHO call to ensure urgently that hospitals in North Gaza can be supported to become functional again, for an expedited pace of medical evacuation and use all corridors from Gaza to get patients out, including to the West Bank and East Jerusalem, for sustained access to hospitals, for increased flow of aid and information across and goods across Gaza, and for an urgent and lasting ceasefire. Thank you, Mr. President, for your kind and Excellencies for your attention.
I thank Dr. Riek Pieperkorn for his briefing. I now give the floor to Dr. Tanya Haj Hassan. You have the floor, madam.